It's been a while since I've done a book chat video, so today I thought I would just catch you up with some great books that I've read between then and now. How are you all doing? We're doing okay. I'm not as active with BookTube right now as I would like to be. I do have some tag videos planned for December that I do hope to get to, but you don't know how many times I've gotten cleaned up, ready to film, and then kind of talked myself out of making the video. So today, I'm just going to push past my, is it reluctance? I don't know what it is, but hesitancy, I don't know, am I losing my gumption? I don't know. But today I'm here. So the first book I wanted to talk to you about that I finished was The Mill on the Floss by George Eliot. This was a Victober read for me, and I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was better for me than Danielle Deronda. I enjoyed it more. I really felt attached to the Maggie Tolliver character. She is a girl. The book starts out when she is a little girl, and she is full of fire, and she's just got a spirit that no one in her family seems to appreciate or like. And her mother comes from a family of well-connected people. Her father does not. So her mother has all these sisters in the town, and they just cast this disparaging eye on Maggie's father and his business failures. And then they also judge Maggie all the time. And so she, as a little girl, rebels and tries and does things that make people so disappointed in her. And then a big family tragedy happens, losing the mill. Losing ownership of the mill. The father makes some bad decisions. Then he creates some enemies, and everything goes downhill for this family early on in the book. And the whole plot of the book is watching Maggie try and find her bearings, going through periods of being completely depressed and just trying to give of herself 100% to her family. And they still don't always approve of her or give her any kind of encouragement. So of course, then she turns to outside validation, and that causes problems. All in all, I really liked the character dynamics between Maggie and her brother, Maggie and her love interests, and was really mad at the father and mad at the family members that were always trying to push Maggie down and not allow her to be her full flowered self. And George Eliot really captured the sadness of not being able to be who you are. So if you are looking for a book to read next Victober or even read it this month, this was a great book. Okay, I'm putting my glasses on so I can see my notes. Another book that I finished was called Empty by Susan Barton. This was a memoir, and it's an eating disorder memoir, so there's a big trigger warning. And particularly in this book, she really goes into a lot of detail, and maybe it's even too strung out. I mean, just of her obsessive not eating and then eating and binging behavior. So I think maybe the book could have been a little bit shorter, and there was a lot of filler in this book. But again, it's her story. I'm glad I read it. Another nonfiction book that I read is called $1 Billion Loser: The Epic Rise and Spectacular Fall of Adam Neumann and WeWork by Reeves, Wiedeman. And WeWork is another startup company started by someone who's overly ambitious, underqualified, not particularly talented other than that he can, using his charisma, talk people into things that they shouldn't be talked into, and overselling himself to the point that, of course, expectations are going to be raised so high that they will be eventually dashed. And just like so many of the other toxic afflictions that we have in this society, where people are elevated to these very, very high levels without having enough qualifications behind them and enough willingness to do the hard work to attain a level of success. And I hate it when people oversell and underdeliver. I'd much rather have people just be earnest and humble and say, I'll do my best, and then really wow us with some kind of spectacular results. They were acquiring so much property and overselling themselves as a whole like philosophy, and it almost had a cult-like feeling to it. Reminding me of NXIVM, the sex addict cult that I've been watching documentaries about, and also just thinking about organizations, cults, businesses, schools where people are led by personality and not by anything more substantial. I also finished Louise Penny's number 12 in the Armand Gamache series called A Great Reckoning. This one took place in the training academy for police officers, and Armand has found himself as the head of this training academy for a time. So there's a murder mystery that's embedded into all of his past relationships, all the corruption that's in the police departments that he is trying to root out. And so it continues. This is not a book you'd want to start with in the series, but I really enjoyed the emotion and the tension that Louise Penny was able to create in this particular scenario. I read 2 short story collections, one called The Office of Historical Corrections, a novella and stories by Danielle Evans, and I liked all the stories in this book. They all the stories deal with reckoning with race in current day America. So all the characters are either African American, or in a couple of stories, I think there are white characters had connections to black characters, and especially in one of the stories, there's a great betrayal of a friendship between a white girl and an African American girl. Social media comes into play too. And I thought it was a really good story. I really liked the novella at the end, which is about a woman who gave up being a tenured professor so that she could work for the government in an office called the Office of Historical Corrections. And there would be an agency that would go around in every county in the United States and correct historical inaccuracies in things like signs, at museums, or put historical context into what we are told is history. It takes a weird turn, and also it's about the main character has a rival friend. They were friends, they were raised together, but they've always been rivals in everything they've done. There's white supremacy involved, and it was really interesting, and it really did seem to fit into our current our current political climate. I was very satisfied with the story. And the other short story collection I read was How to Pronounce Knife, Souvankham, Thammavongsa. It is really probably one of the best short story collections I read this year. Every story is about Laotian immigrants. A lot of them are about the relationship between the parents and the kids that came from Laos. They were like doctors and businessmen, and they came here for a better life. And then each story really highlights the kind of the grueling, backbreaking work that these immigrants take on so that they can raise their kids here, and the humiliations being an immigrant and being at the mercy of the corporations that hire you, and being at the mercy of these very dictator like supervisors that are just watching your every move. You're under surveillance, and then the kids are even sometimes ungrateful and don't really realize the impact of what their parents are going through to raise them here in the United States. There was not one bad story in this collection. They were all really good. Some were odd, some were interesting, but they really bring the characters to life, and you just see them as people in this weird circumstance, and I can't say enough about it. Right now I'm reading The Mirror and the Light by Hilary Mantel. I just started it. It took me right back into the story with Thomas Cromwell, and her writing is just so vivid. I was reading it right before I went to bed, and then I was hearing that narrator voice in my head, kind of narrating my dreams in a weird way. So there's a cadence to the writing that is very unique to this particular series, much more than just a recounting of history. She's really created a work of art, and just bringing him to this fully realized voice that I just can't get out of my head. So I'm really enjoying that. I'm just going to kind of take my time with that, and if I get it done in December, great, and if I don't, that's okay. And I'm also reading Nosferatu by Joe Hill. I'm reading that with Alan from Big Hard Books and Classics, and we haven't checked in on our first segment yet, but I did not realize how long this book was, but it's just flying by. The story is really fast-paced. It's very reminiscent of Stephen King, who is Joe Hill's father. It also has like a new creative spirit to it, and it was written quite a while ago, but I'm scared and enjoying it at the same time. I guess that's all I'm reading right now. If that's all you need to know, it's fine. I've also been watching The Crown. I have just a few episodes left of the most recent season. Olivia Colman is like a world treasure. She's such a great actress. All the actors in this series are really good. I mean, they really have grasped on to the desperation and unhappiness of being a royal, and there's very little joy in it, but it's just beautiful. And we also just finished The Queen's Gambit last night, and if nothing else, I mean, it's just a really kind of rollicking character study story, and interesting to see chess in a different way. And also the visuals of this miniseries are gorgeous. The set designs of the homes and the orphanage and the places where the chess tournaments take place in the 60s, you know, from the kind of a seedy hotel to like these grand, almost palaces in Russia, taking you all over the place. And you just feel like you're going on this journey with this little girl to a young woman. I'm sure it has lots of flaws and whatever. I enjoyed it, and I couldn't wait to find out what was going to happen. So compelling storytelling is really all I'm looking for right now. And that's really all I have to talk about at the moment. I am going to do a tag video soon about my end of the year, and I do want to go back and find the videos that I was tagged in 2020 and see if I can catch up on some of them. I don't know if I'll be able to find all the references. I've been a bad booktuber in that regard of not doing tags when I'm tagged, but hey, we're all just trying to get through day by day, and I'll just continue to do that. So hope you're doing well, and I will see you very soon in the next video. Bye.